Am I live now? Or off mute? Perfect. What's up, everyone? Just gonna wait a couple minutes, let some folks roll in. So I'll go on mute for a bit. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna kick off. I know we presented this as a Q&A, so in a couple minutes I'll open it up and just start answering questions from the chat. I'll probably try to stick around for the entire, or I'm planning to stick around for the entire hour, so if people roll in or leave or whatnot, can answer questions as we go. But I also wanted to share, I just wanted to share my screen for a bit and share a little bit more about the CPM update that we rolled out a couple weeks ago. So this webinar will be very casual, just feel free to interrupt me. But essentially what I wanted to share was if folks didn't know how to choose CPM or how that worked, I wanted to showcase that process. And then also, we fielded a good amount of questions around formatting with ads. And we know a lot of publications don't want to run ads that don't look and feel like the rest of their publication. There's actually quite a bit of formatting control that you have, not necessarily over the copy, but about how the ad looks. So I wanted to showcase that and just walk through it to make sure everybody on the call knew about it. Yeah, and if you have questions, as Tony just mentioned, drop them in the chat. After I show my screen, I'll run through the chat and just see what's there, and we'll try to cover off on everything. All right. Okay, cool. So logged in here as my newsletter. It's premoney.beehiiv.com. And let's run through accepting an ad. Jeremy, we might set up a new session to go through boosts. It's not 100% my forte, so I want to bring somebody in to make sure that knows the product in and out so we can get all your questions answered there. Oops, let me run back. Okay, so just jumping into the ads tab. I'll do some 101 for anybody here who's seeing ads for the first time. But basically, if you're a newsletter, you get a notification that you have a couple of advertisers that want to sponsor your newsletter. Here, I have two opportunities available to me. One is HubSpot and one is Nike. You'll see that both of these have what we call flexible options on getting paid out. So on HubSpot, you have the option of getting paid $2.50 per click or $5 per 1,000 opens. That's quote unquote CPM, cost per milli. And then Nike is similar. I could opt into getting paid $1.75 per click or $4 per 1,000 opens. Cool. So I'm going to just go through the process of accepting one of these ads. So clicked into the HubSpot opportunity. Again, it shows me that I could choose CPM or CPC. I also have the opportunity to choose the date that I'm going to run this. So let's say I'm sending out a newsletter today, don't have an ad in there, want to monetize that newsletter. I'll say I'm going to send this out on the 19th. And I choose to get paid on cost per milli. So I choose $5 CPM. Then I go through and choose the creative option that I think fits best into my newsletter. Let's choose this one. I can open these up also if I want to see a bigger preview. And then I can also click on test link. So test link basically shows you where the readers of your newsletter will be sent if they click on the link. sometimes advertisers send folks to a different landing page or a landing page that's not their homepage. So it's valuable to look at that test link just to make sure you understand where your readers are going to be sent so you can see what their experience will be like. If you hear something in the background, that's my dog drinking water. He's big and goofy, so it's usually pretty loud. Cool. Okay, so I went through the process of choosing dates and payout and then creative type. Just gonna click review and accept. This is basically just a summary of the ad that I chose, the payout that I chose, etc. And then I accept. Cool. And I can choose to add to a new post or add later. I'm going to choose to add later because I already have a post that I want to add this ad to. All right. So I'm going to jump back into posts, pull up pre-money 75 testing. This is the ad that, or the publication that I want to throw the ad into. So I'm going to jump in and edit that newsletter. And then in my format, I already have a location where I always put a sponsor. So that is here in the template. If you don't have one of those, you can jump in here, do / advertisement, and that will enable you to select the ad. Cool. So I'm gonna jump in here, choose HubSpot. That's the ad that I just chose through that flow. And the pieces of formatting that I wanted to showcase here, let me show you a preview right now. So if I previewed this without making any changes to that that ad, this is what the ad will look like. So you have the image, you can't really change that. And then you have text here and a linked call to action. The changes that you can make are the background of the ad and then the colors of the font. And then also if this ad is in a section, you can change the borders, the formatting of the borders, etc. So let me show you a little bit about that. So same way you would edit the formatting of any section, you click on the hamburger or whatever this is called, go to visual settings, and then you can choose a different background color, a different text color. So let's choose white. And then you can change spacing and borders and whatnot as well. But let me show you the preview really quick. So we scroll down and we see the background is now blue, the text is now white. This blue looked like it didn't really work that well, so I'll probably go in and change it if I were to actually send this out, because the blue is kind of overshadowing the call to action link. But wanted to share that because a lot of publishers haven't, it's kind of hidden. A lot of publishers gave us that feedback that they want a little bit more creative control. And I think this should get you about 80% of the way there until we develop a way for you to build your own copy and creative and get that approved by advertisers. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna shut my mouth now. I'll jump into the chat and see what questions there are, but also happy to answer questions about that specifically. Okay. Kyle asked, do you guys anticipate being able to offer more premium CPMs over time? $5 is the highest I've seen so far, and generally is a coin toss with CPC. Short answer is yes. Overall, the goal is to, as we run more and more ads with newsletters, and as we develop better ways to really track the impact of the ad for the advertiser, that should enable us to better calculate what an appropriate CPM or CPC should be for each and every newsletter. Short way of basically saying, if you have a low number of subscribers but drive really high value to an advertiser, you should get paid more. We're trying to figure out how do we develop enough data to recognize that. And if that's the case, then yes, you'll start seeing higher and higher CPMs. Dan asks, can we cold outreach any of the ad sponsors of the ad network, or do we have to wait for an ad request from them? So we're working on this too. We recognize that sometimes sitting and kind of waiting for an advertiser isn't ideal. Technically, in terms and conditions or our user agreement, going direct to an advertiser that we work with is against the user agreement. But we have a ton of publishers who also just sell directly to different advertisers and complement the work or complement the ads that they get from the ad network. We see that pretty often, and we're building tools to help support that actually, because we know that's pretty common where a publisher has a sales team, goes direct to advertisers, and then complements that work or that monetization with the ad network. Okay. Jeremy, I'm going to come back to your question. I just want to scroll up and make sure I didn't miss anything earlier. Oh. Cool. Misha asked a little bit earlier, what is the newsletter distribution by subscribers? Um, Misha, I'll ask you a yes or no question just to clarify that question. Are you asking like, what is the general distribution of how many publications have like 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, et cetera? Yes, exactly. Cool. Um, I would say the majority of publications on beehiiv fall within, say, the 20,000 to 100,000 subscriber range. That's definitely like the bulk of publications. And then we have a long tail of publications that are new or upcoming that have less than, say, 20 or 10,000 subscribers. And then I'll say a strong handful of newsletters that are much larger. Um, so by volume of newsletters, definitely that core chunk, kind of like a classic bell curve. But number of subscribers total, probably more like a Pareto or a backwards Pareto, where the large number of publishers or subscribers are represented by the smaller number of large publications, if that makes sense. Cool. Jeremy asked, we get requests for advertisers most weeks, but weeks that we don't receive any, how can we find advertising on the beehiiv ad network? Yeah, so a lot of these we're basically working on making sure that folks get more consistent opportunities. We did up our guaranteed minimum number of opportunities to 4 per month from 1. So at very least, you should have at least 1 ad per week available to you. Um, we do we do follow the community. So if you post in the community or ping one of us on Slack, that's fine. We can't guarantee we'll get back to all those messages, but that's one way. But the main thing is we're trying to hit that guarantee of 4 per month. And then really kind of connected to, I think it was Kyle's last question, or Dan, maybe your last question, as you continue to run more ads and those ads perform better, that feeds our system and it enables us to recognize, hey, we should run or send more ads to this newsletter as newsletters become higher performing. Cool. Cool. Kyle asked, any thoughts on integrating with larger affiliate networks so publishers can pull affiliate offers from the CMS? Yes, we've definitely talked about that. It's a really big build, but that's something that we'll probably do in the future. For folks that aren't aware of what an affiliate network is, essentially there are affiliate networks like PartnerStack, CJ, Pepperjam, etc., that you can log into and choose to promote certain products or certain companies. And if you drive a conversion, you'll get paid a percentage of whatever that value is. And the question is, are we going to integrate with one of those and offer those deals through beehiiv? We'll probably build our own version of that in the future. Right now, we're very much focused on making sure we get CPC and CPM nailed down and that right. But yeah, definitely on the roadmap. Cool. Dan asked, what's your advice on how we should stand out to these advertisers, create a media kit, website, compelling one-liner that we offer? What do you suggest? Yeah, so if you're talking about going directly to advertisers, all of those things, building a media kit that basically showcases what kind of readership do you have, how big is your readership, how engaged are they, showcasing previous advertisers that you've worked with. If you have a case study on how that ad ran for the advertiser or a quote from them, that helps really well. And then very clearly putting out your pricing. So if you're going direct, you have a media kit, mapping out your pricing based on the type of sponsorship you're selling. So you could do there's three kind of like basic types of ads. One is a classified, which is like, say like 2, 3 bullets or 2, 3 sentences and a call to action. And there's the shout out, which is more like what I just showed you on the HubSpot example. So an image, maybe a logo, maybe a paragraph, and then a call to action. And then a takeover, which is a couple hundred words, really like a full newsletter for the advertiser written in their voice. Having pricing for each of those. Um, and then kind of building packages. So allowing the advertiser to know, hey, if we buy like 5 shout outs or like 3 shout outs and a deep dive, they can buy that for a certain price that ends up being cheaper on a per unit basis. And then yeah, a compelling one liner is definitely great. That probably works better for or works more for like when you're reaching out to advertisers. But the media kit, once you have an advertiser's attention, the media kit, what they'll look for is really like, are they going to hit, is this newsletter going to hit my ICP? So very clearly describing who your readers are and what you write about. And then their second question is, how much does it cost? So having like pricing there in a very clear way. And then if they need social proof, seeing those logos of other companies that have worked with you is really powerful. The goal of that outreach and the goal of the media kit is to basically answer all the questions that they would have before they have to reply to you. So if they can open up the media kit and see, okay, these are all the bullets all the questions I was going to ask anyway, they can answer if they want to work with you on a yes or no basis, like pretty quickly. That's your goal for the media kit, at least. And if you want to send a media kit my way, emails jacob@beehiiv.com. I can give you some quick feedback. Misha asked, does it make sense to integrate CJ.com, Paved, and Rakuten? Misha, are you asking? Sorry, I keep following up on your questions. I'll actually just answer the 2 questions that I think this means. So for beehiiv to integrate with these folks, I'll go back to my previous answer. We'd probably build our own version of an affiliate network, but I could see us at some point potentially integrating into them. I would say for you on a newsletter basis, no reason not to explore CJ or Paved. Yeah, if you see anything that aligns really well to your newsletter, go for it. Javier asks, is there any cap on the max amount that we can get paid on a single send? No. If you perform really well, that's awesome. That's our goal. For someone running, yeah. Sorry, I was just talking to Tony behind the scenes. Um, cool. Bill asked, for someone running more than one newsletter, is the guarantee 4 per account? It's 4 per newsletter. So the guarantee, if you have 2 newsletters on beehiiv, each newsletter will receive at minimum 4 opportunities per month. PayPal accounts available in your platform. So the question is, are PayPal accounts available in the platform? Right now, we're only supporting Stripe. We've gotten asks for PayPal or Wise. Might support those in the future, but at the moment and the near future is only Stripe. Cool. Loving these questions. Okay, Connor asked, payouts will be sent either directly to you. Oh, sorry. I think you were answering that question. Okay, perfect. Dan asked, do you guys have a media kit for dummies or something you can send new newsletters? Yeah, I'll drop my email there, but it's jacob@beehiiv.com. And Connor asked that, answer that too. Cool. I don't think we do have a media kit for dummies, but I'll note that down as something that we can create for you all. And then we'll try to find some like existing media kits that are really good. If you actually Google like Morning Brew or 1440 media kit, I'm sure you can find something there. They might be a little bit robust, but you can get the gist of what people typically put in there. Oh yeah, Jeremy mentioned that too. Al, it looks like you can't hear anything, but let us know if you can fix that audio. If not, we can connect directly. Okay, I don't have other questions here. I'm going to pause for a second and just let people ponder. Cool. Surjana said she's new to the newsletter world and learning a lot from the platform. That's awesome. If you want to share your newsletter in the chat, we can get some other eyes on it. Cool. Kane asked, any advice for local newsletters trying to get sponsors? Cool. So I'll answer this kind of from like the direct route. So you going out to sponsors outside of the ad network and from the ad network perspective. Um, I would say from the ad network perspective, um, there's a good amount of newsletters that we speak to that ask questions around, hey, when is it the right time to run an ad? And if an ad isn't exactly aligned to my audience, I don't know if I want to present that to them and turn them off. I would say, or I would remind you that it's very, readers are pretty forgiving, and running ads is really a flexible strategy, meaning you can run an ad tomorrow in your newsletter. If it doesn't work, if people don't click on it, or if you get bad feedback, you can just not run another ad the next day, or you can find an ad that better aligns to your newsletter. So I'd say being a little bit less cagey and just trying things. Your readers will understand, and if you're open and transparent with them about how you're testing, that's totally fine. I know that wasn't exactly your question, Kane, but that was kind of a preface for if you receive ad opportunities from the ad network that you think folks would react well to, or you think they would engage with, but doesn't necessarily align to the local content of your newsletter, I would say just give it a try. If you don't get good feedback, you don't have to run another of those ads again. In terms of actually going out to direct sponsors, I would say similar to the previous conversation, putting together a media kit and making it clear that that audience is very local, and then going out to local shops, restaurants, organizations in the space, um, and sharing the media kit. I don't know how local, like if it's a small town or a small city, literally just walking into mom and pop shops. I know somebody on our team, uh, Daniel Burke. He runs a couple local newsletters in his hometown, and that's how he goes about, or how he went about getting his first couple advertisers. He just walked in and showed him what they were doing, showed him the numbers, and now he gets some inbound because he created some um, just general awareness in the locality. Cool. Bill asked, can you talk a bit about what types, subjects, demographics you see doing best? If someone were to say, the world is my oyster, I can consider a few new newsletters, what would you? Yeah, cool. I would say we have a lot of advertisers that see success in the personal finance space. Personal productivity works really well too. There's also um, kind of like BetterHelp, that type of product that is like wellness development, self development, things like that, at least from an advertiser perspective, work really well. And I think it's also a genre that there's a lot of people looking for advice and content around that space. So yeah, anything that's like personal development, personal finance works really well. There's a ton of like general news newsletters that are just distilling news. A lot of people are looking for unbiased news. So 1440 is one of those best examples. So any of those three routes I think would work really well. The complete other side of the coin is just choosing a niche that nobody's really writing about. So the classic example of like unbundling Craigslist or Reddit, anything that has like a solid section on Craigslist that's active or a subreddit that you can't find a newsletter about, that's a good indicator that it could be a good uh, niche newsletter to write. Phil asked oh, where is that? Cool. My plan is to run an ad in a section of my newsletter that's only visible to free subscribers and not premium ones. That seems fair. And we'll make, yeah, cool. I know that we actually, so I was off last week, so I don't know if we updated this, but I'll check. There was an issue with visibility if you're running a CPM ad. If you're running CPC, you can do this just by adjusting the visibility settings. You might not be able to do this at the moment with CPM, but Phil, I'll get back to you on that. But that's a smart strategy. Dan, that question is super long, so I'm just going to read it silently, not read it out loud. And give me one sec. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, everyone check out that newsletter. Okay, I have a couple of other questions that have been brought up in the past that I'll kind of go through, and then I'll check in on any other live questions that pop up. Okay, any idea when we've heard this question a lot. Any idea when beehiiv ad network will have flat fee ads instead of just pay per click? We are working on a concept that helps publishers sell flat rate ads. We're likely not going to integrate that directly into the types of ad network ads that you're receiving now. But in the next couple of months, you should see an update that kind of helps support that angle. How should I source advertisers for my local newsletter? That was what we just talked about with Kane's question. Can I be an advertiser as a publisher, and do I have to have two accounts to do that? I'll go backwards. The two accounts to be an advertiser, no, the ad network is actually a managed service. So if you do want to be an advertiser, you work with me, somebody from my team, and we'll set up a campaign for you. You'll have a dashboard so you can see how everything is running, but right now it's not like an account that you log into. And yes, you can definitely be an advertiser if you are a publisher. I'm sure a lot of you have seen ads come your way from other publications. We have a lot of publications that have seen a lot of success with running ads through the ad network. So if you do want to test running ads, we have a minimum of a 10K budget. If that fits what you guys are thinking, then you can reach out and we'll get you started. How do I know which monetization strategy is best for me, ads versus boost versus paid subs? This is the annoying answer is that it's worth testing and learning. I would say I'll go backwards in these options, but paid subs, if you have a newsletter that is about a niche and you have the opportunity to have like, say, a weekly newsletter that is general about that niche or about the topic that you cover, and then you have a lot of content that is a little bit more of a deep dive, or you do interviews or you bring on guests, stuff like that, that is like more in the weeds of the general topic. That's a really nice structure to have for a newsletter that has paid subscribers. So basically, if you have any sort of newsletter that you know you can very easily make a paid tier and a free tier, that's a great setup at least for paid subs that you can start testing. There is some advice on putting your best content free. So making your best content maybe a big deep dive once a month, make that free, allow people who are on the free newsletter to see how awesome your content is. So then that creates a nice little interest flywheel and drives more people to pay. Ads and boosts, I would say those are things that you should try no matter what, no matter if you do paid subs or not. Again, you can test and learn. You can see, hey, is your newsletter, are the subscribers of your newsletter reactive to ads in a good way? Do boosts work for you? Those are things that you can test. If they don't work, you don't do them again, or you can try a couple different strategies. And if they work really well, you just keep doing it. Um, the most highly monetized newsletters that I know do a combination of all three, and they sell courses or they sell one-on-one stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways to monetize, and you might as well test them all. My click rates are high, but my users aren't engaging with ads. Why might that be? It's very possible that the ads just aren't aligning to the content. That's something that we're definitely working on, trying to find better advertisers for all types of newsletters. Um, Also possible that the formatting is throwing folks off. If you try employing some of the stuff that I showed earlier and that helps, that's awesome. Otherwise, we are working on ways to in a more scalable way, enable publishers to adjust text, stuff like that. That's probably something we'll see happen in Q1. But yeah, it's a lot of my answers are going to be a bit of like, hey, it's a test and learn type thing. I would say keep a very keen eye on when you run ads, which ads perform better than than the others. So you can figure out, hey, which types of advertisers do my readers actually want to engage with? And then actually providing us that feedback is really helpful so we can go out and spend time finding more of those types of advertisers. What other types of ad formats are coming in the near future? So I would say for like the rest of the year, probably going to stick with the types of formats that we have now. You'll see on most campaigns, you'll see about 5 to 7 different opportunities or different options, and those typically have a shout out, which is like an image, a little bit of content, and a call to action, and then also a couple options that don't have an image. We call those secondaries, sometimes classifieds. We likely won't expand to dedicated sends. That's probably something that we're going to leave to publishers who are selling direct. But we've toyed with the concept of job ads, more dedicated like footer ads, stuff like that. Not necessarily on the roadmap, but those are things that we're thinking about. Cool. Let me. Cool. Dan had to jump. Awesome. Gordon asked, I'm new to newsletter advertising, 2 weeks in, come from an ad sales in the radio industry, and I can write and produce my own sponsored ads in both audio and video. Can I do this with beehiiv? Yes, if Gordon, if you are asking if you can work with advertisers directly and produce your own ads for them and run them in your newsletter, 100%. If you're talking about through the beehiiv ad network, where, sorry, I don't know if you just joined the session or not, but if you get an ad through the beehiiv ad network, those are ads that we can't yet adjust on the publisher level, but you can make those small formatting tweaks. I'm not confident if I answered your question, so let me know in the chat if I got that wrong. Dan asked, is this recorded and will it be sent out earlier or later? Yes, it will be recorded. We'll probably chunk it down a little bit and then share it. Cool. I don't see other questions flowing in, but I'm going to stick around and see if anybody has anything else to ask. But I will go on mute for the moment. I think we'll probably end this session in a couple of minutes, but since we have a couple of folks on now, we do have a campaign running with Nike. If you haven't gotten an offer yet, if you post your email that's associated with your newsletter in the chat, I'll send you guys an offer for that campaign right now. Misha, you got it. Cool. I'm actually just gonna note these down. I'll do it right when we hang up. Give me one sec. Okay. All right, Harsh, give me one sec. Okay, cool. All right, Harsh asked, I have one doubt. If I buy the scale plan, then I use the ad network instantly, or it takes time to try to use it, or is there any guide or rules? No, so right when you get the scale plan, you will immediately become eligible to run ads. It might take a week or so for you to get your first opportunity, but right when you enter a paid plan, that's when you get or become eligible for receiving ad opportunities. Lewis, if you want to share your newsletters or the email associated with each of them, I can check those out. It's possible that one happens to be performing a little bit better than the other, but I will check and make sure. And also, um, if those newsletters are about different topics, that might be why. I would also make sure that each newsletter has tags. So if you go into the newsletter profile or the settings, making sure it's tagged appropriately for the type of content that it covers, and then also the description of the newsletter. Those are two big things that we use in addition to open rates, subscriber count, et cetera, to find the right publications for an advertiser. So making sure that all of your newsletters have those things updated and updated in the most accurate way would be very helpful. Craig, best way to grow subscribers. So from a paid perspective, using things like boosts, doing paid cross promotions with other newsletters, using the ad network, those are things that a lot of the big newsletters have done to grow their subscriber counts. The others are posting on social, sharing your newsletter with organizations that align to the content that you're writing, and then just being very consistent with your content. The best way to grow is have folks share your newsletter, creating word of mouth. Those end up driving the most engaged subscribers. So a lot of consistency, a lot of posting about what you're writing about, bringing in guests, becoming a guest on other newsletters that are well known, stuff like that really helps. 214 subscribers and a 45.1% open rate. Yeah, anything above a 40% open rate is really good. So as you scale, if you see that open rate staying about the same, that's really great. Cool, Lewis. I will look into the Cult to Mac newsletters after we chat. Harsh asked if there's very low subs or open rate. Yeah, you will. It's worth noting that if you have a really low number of subs or low open rates, the opportunity to get paid out will be a little bit lower. But yes, you'll still be available for opportunities. You'll get that for ad opportunity minimum per month. Even if you have a really small number of subscribers. How would you think doing a SaaS launch? Are you talking about Craig, can you expand upon that a bit with the newsletter? Are you asking about how would you go about launching like paid subscribers or premium subscribers to your newsletter, or if you have a SaaS product? Okay, sorry. I'll wait for you to continue. Okay, Craig said, I have a client that we are generating a good amount of top of funnel traffic for organic and want to bring them into the mid funnel before launch. Craig, if you want to send me an email, we can go through this, or we can chat through directly. I just have a couple more questions that I think it'll be hard to answer on this medium. I'll put my email again here. Oops. eToro got in late because of technical glitches. No problem. We will probably share out the webinar. We're also going to start doing these weekly for now. So eToro, if you have specific questions you want to ask, go for it, drop them in the chat. If not, we're going to be doing these weekly, and we can always connect directly to answer other questions that you have. Tony just sent my email address for Craig, yeah. Cool. For anybody else that recently joined, we're basically just doing an open Q&A. So if you have questions, just throw them in the chat and we'll go through them. Toro, are you referring to folks having trouble signing up to your newsletter? If so, I would say I'm going to ask you to actually send Tony and I a note directly, and then we can pass you to the right person. Okay, yeah. Cool. Not meaning to pass you off. Just some of these questions are probably better suited to have like screenshots, examples, etc. before we can figure out the right answer. Cool. Okay, I think we're gonna call it unless anybody has another last minute question, but I know there's a couple folks that joined later As Tony mentioned, we'll probably cut this up, share it out. We're also going to do another one of these next Tuesday. And if you have questions, you can email us directly. But otherwise, really appreciate all the questions. Hopefully, this was helpful to a couple of you. And then, yeah, send us notes in between. But we'll talk to you next week if you join the next week's webinar. And yeah, thanks for being dedicated users. Feedback is a gift, so keep sending it. And we'll continue to make sure you are monetizing, growing, and scaling your newsletters. All right, everyone.